Someone walks up to a busy copy machine with a long line waiting and asks to cut in front. "I have 5 pages. May I go first?" About 6 in 10 people say yes. Now the researchers change one thing. They add a reason. "May I go first? Because I have to make copies?" And almost everyone agrees. 9 in 10. But look at that reason. Because I have to make copies. It says nothing. Everyone in that line has copies. That is why they are standing there. It is not a reason at all. It is the empty shape of one. And it worked, almost as well as a real one, because your mind was never really weighing the reason. It was listening for a single word, because. And then it clicked. There is a set of triggers buried deep in the human mind. Press 1 and a response fires, automatically, before you have thought a single thought. Scientists who study animals call them fixed patterns. A mother turkey will care for anything that makes a certain cheep, even a stuffed version of her worst enemy if it plays the sound. Press the button, run the tape. You would like to believe you are different, that your choices are reasoned, weighed, yours. And often they are. But a great deal of what you agree to every single day runs on the same automatic button. Click, and the tape plays. And you call it my decision. And there are people who have made it their life's work to find those buttons and press them. Salespeople, marketers, recruiters, con artists, anyone whose living depends on your yes. And notice, they do not argue with your reason. They reach past it, to the button behind it. So think of a marionette. It moves, it seems alive, it even seems to choose. But every motion answers a string, and the whole terrible art of manipulation is just this: to know which strings a human being has, and to pull them so gently that the puppet believes it moved itself. Over the next while, we are going to name those strings, one by one, the 7 levers that move almost everyone alive. And not so you can pull them on other people, but so that the next time a hand reaches for one of yours, you will feel the tug, because a puppet that feels the string is already half free. So here is the first string, and it may be the oldest one we have. Reciprocity. The rule is simple. When someone gives you something, you feel that you must give something back. It is woven into every culture on earth. A favor demands a favor, a gift demands a gift. And it runs so deep that an unpaid favor becomes a kind of itch, a small debt that sits in the chest until it is settled. That itch kept our ancestors alive. I share my kill today, you share yours tomorrow. It built trust. It built the tribe. But that same itch is a string, and it can be pulled. Watch how. The free sample at the store, the mint that arrives with the bill, the gift in the envelope from the charity before you have given a cent. None of these are generosity. They are the first move in an exchange. You never agreed to enter. The gift goes in, and the debt comes with it. And now, a part of you wants to even the score. And it does not have to be equal. Studies find that a tiny gift can pull back a far larger one. A single flower pressed into your hand before the ask for a donation. A mint on the tray that quietly lifts the tip. The debt you feel is often worth far more than the gift you were given. But the sharpest form of this string is not a gift at all. It is a retreat. Someone asks you for something huge, something you easily refuse. Will you volunteer 2 years? No. And then they step back. Well then, would you give just 1 afternoon? And suddenly that smaller ask feels reasonable, almost like a favor to you. And you say yes, far more often than if they had asked for the afternoon from the start. Because they gave something up. They moved toward you, and the rule says you must move back. They did not lower the ask to be kind. They raised it first, so the real one would look like a gift. And here is the only defense against this first string. It is not to refuse every gift. That would make you cold. It is to see when a gift is not a gift, when it is a lever. A true favor asks nothing. A tactic always comes to collect. And the moment you feel that debt appear from a stranger who wants your yes, you are allowed to set it down. The second string uses you against yourself. It is your need to be consistent. Once you take a stand, once you say a thing out loud, something in you works hard to stay true to it, to not contradict yourself. And that need is a lever a stranger can hold. It starts small, absurdly small. Researchers asked homeowners to accept a tiny sign in their window. Almost everyone agreed. Why not? Weeks later, the same people were asked to put a huge, ugly billboard on their lawn, and the ones who had accepted the little sign said yes at several times the normal rate. The small yes had changed them. They were now the kind of person who supports this cause, and the billboard simply matched who they had already agreed to be. This is the foot in the door. Get the small commitment first. The large one walks in behind it. The free trial that becomes a subscription. The petition that becomes a donation. The first tiny favor for a manipulator that becomes a life you cannot explain. No one agrees to the cage. They agree to one small bar, and then another, and then they are inside. And the string pulls hardest when the commitment is public. When you have said it, where others can hear, written down, signed, announced. Because now, to go back is not just to change your mind. It is to become, in front of everyone, a person whose word means nothing. And we will suffer a great deal rather than be seen as that. And the cruelest version has a name in the trade, the low ball. You are offered a wonderful price. You decide. You commit. You are already picturing it as yours. And only then the price quietly rises. A fee appears, a condition, and most people still go through with it because they are no longer buying the deal. They are defending the decision they have already made. The good price was never the offer. It was the hook that set the commitment. So the defense against this string is to guard the first small yes. It is never really small. And to give yourself one radical permission, the right to be inconsistent. To say, yes, I agreed to that before, and I have changed my mind. Those words feel like a small defeat. They are often the sound of a string snapping. The third string is the herd. And it answers a question you ask yourself 1,000 times a day. What should I do here? When you are unsure, you look around. You watch what everyone else is doing, and you copy it. It is called social proof. And most of the time, it is wise. If the whole street is running, you should probably run too, because the herd is a shortcut, a way to decide without the work of deciding. If everyone is doing it, it must be right. It must be safe. It must be good. And that is the crack the manipulator works. Because you can be shown a herd that is not really there. You can be sold a crowd that was built to move you. And once you see it, you cannot stop seeing it. The laughter track that tells you when to find a thing funny. The tip jar seeded with a few bills, so it looks like everyone gives. The bestseller label that sells the book by saying others bought it. The account with the bought followers. The empty restaurant that pays a few people to stand in line out front. None of this touches the thing itself. The book is no better. The food is no warmer. Only the signal has changed. Others chose this. And that one whisper is enough to swing you, because it lets you skip the hard question of whether the thing is actually any good. And the herd has a darker face, because sometimes it does not push you to act. It freezes you. Something is wrong in a public place, and everyone stays calm, so you stay calm, reading their stillness as proof that all is fine, while every one of them is reading yours the same way. A whole room can talk itself out of the truth in perfect silence, each waiting for someone else to react first. So the defense against this string is a single stubborn question. Strip away the crowd and ask, if no one else were doing this, would I still want it? Would I still believe it? Sometimes the honest answer is yes, but sometimes you find you were not persuaded at all. You were just following, and no one was really leading. The fourth string is bound into us from the moment we are born. Obedience to authority. From childhood, we are taught to trust the expert, follow the teacher, obey the officer, believe the doctor, and usually that is sound. The expert often does no more. Deferring saves us from having to learn everything ourselves. But watch what the mind actually bows to. Not the knowledge, the symbol of it, the title before the name, the uniform, the white coat, the confident voice that never seems to doubt. We react to the costume long before we have checked whether anything real is underneath it. And how far will people go for a symbol? Decades ago, a famous experiment asked exactly that. An ordinary man in a lab coat calmly instructed volunteers to deliver what they believed were painful shocks to a stranger. No threat, no reward, just the quiet authority of the coat. And most of them obeyed, long past the point their own conscience screamed to stop. And here is the part the powerful understand. If the mind bows to the symbol, then you do not need the substance. You only need the symbol. Anyone can buy a suit. Anyone can claim a title. Anyone can hire an actor and put him in a white coat to sell you a pill. The con man's first purchase is always the costume of the thing he is not. So the defense is not to sneer at all authority. Real expertise is precious. It is to separate the two things the symbol has glued together. Ask two quiet questions. Is this person truly an expert in this exact thing? And can I trust that they are telling me the truth? A real doctor selling you something is not a doctor in that moment. He is a salesman in a coat you were taught never to question. The fifth string is the gentlest of them all, and so the hardest to feel. You say yes to people you like. It seems harmless. Of course we help our friends. But this string does not need a friend. It only needs the feeling of one. And that feeling can be manufactured in seconds by a stranger who wants something. So learn what switches it on. We like people who are similar to us, so the good operator finds the sudden thing you share. The same town, the same team, the same taste. We like people who praise us, so the compliment arrives right before the ask. We like people who seem to be on our side, so the seller says, honestly, between us, I would not buy the expensive one. And with that, he stops being a seller and becomes your advisor, your friend. And we simply trust the attractive and the charming more. We assume, without a shred of evidence, that a beautiful face hides a better person. None of this is about the offer. The product has not changed. The deal is the same deal. Only your feeling toward the messenger has been quietly warmed. And a warm feeling makes a closed hand open. And that leaves the sixth string, perhaps the most physical of all, the panic of scarcity. Whatever is rare feels precious. Whatever is vanishing, we suddenly want. It is not the thing we crave in that moment. It is the losing of it, because losing something hurts far more than never having it at all. Researchers proved it with something as small as a cookie, the same cookie, in 2 jars. 1 jar full, 1 jar nearly empty, and people rated the cookie from the almost empty jar as more desirable, more valuable, better. Nothing about the cookie was different, only that there were almost none left. And this is why the whole machine of selling runs on a clock. Only 2 left in stock. Offer ends at midnight, while supplies last. Because the moment you feel it might slip away, the calm part of your mind goes quiet, and an older, faster part takes over. It stops asking, "Do I even want this?" and starts screaming, "Do not let it get away." The urgency was never about the thing. It was manufactured to drown out your judgment. So the defense against both of these strings is the same. It is a pause, a deliberate, inserted pause. When you notice the warm rush of liking or the cold panic of a closing door, that feeling itself is the alarm. Stop, and split the thing from the pressure. Do I want this offer on its own, without the charming face and without the ticking clock? The rush wants you to decide now, which is the surest sign you should decide later. And now the 7th string, the deepest, the one the others all reach toward. Unity. Liking says, "This person is like me." Unity says something far stronger. This person is me. Part of the same family, the same nation, the same faith, the same us. And once a stranger crosses that line, from them to us, everything changes. You trust them by default. You forgive them. You believe them. Researchers found that simply adding 4 words to a request, "I am one too," could sharply lift the number who said yes. One of your countrymen, one of your kind, not asking as a stranger, but claiming a place inside your circle. And this is the string that moves whole crowds. The brand that says, "You are one of us now." The movement that offers not an idea, but a family. Because we are starving for belonging. And anyone who offers it gets the keys to everything behind the door. Your loyalty, your money, your certainty, sometimes your whole mind. The most dangerous words a manipulator can say are simply, "You belong with us." So there they are, all 7. And now, step back and see the one thing they share. Not one of these strings argues with you. Not one of them offers evidence or reasons with your logic. Every single one slips underneath it. Reciprocity, consistency, the herd, the coat, the smile, the vanishing, the us. None of them persuade the thinking mind. They bypass it. And this reveals the true shape of manipulation. The manipulator never wins the argument. He does not need to. He pulls the string. The reflex fires. You lean toward the yes, and then your proud, clever mind rushes in to explain the choice you have already made. It hands you reasons, good ones, and you believe they came first. They did not. You were never convinced. You were triggered, and then you convinced yourself. And that is why you cannot simply think your way free. Your thinking is often the last to arrive. It comes in after the pull, as the defense lawyer for a decision, the string already made. Which means the fight was never really about being smart enough. It is about feeling the tug a half second before the mind builds its excuse. So what do you do with this? And the first thing is to accept what you cannot do. You cannot cut the strings. They are not a flaw someone installed. They are how human beings cooperate at all. Reciprocity built trust. Authority passed down knowledge. The herd kept us alive. A person who suspected every gift and every expert would not be free. He would just be alone and exhausting. So the goal is not to kill the reflex. It is to draw one line between the real and the manufactured. A true gift, a real expert, a genuine shared bond. Honor those freely. But when a trigger is being built on purpose to move you, that is not influence anymore. It is theft, and you owe a thief nothing. And that single reframe sets you free from the rule, because the rules only bind when the move is honest. A gift given to hook you is not a gift, so you need not repay it. A scarcity that was invented is not real, so you need not fear it. A coat worn to fool you earns no trust. The moment you see the tactic for what it is, the debt it created simply evaporates. But how do you catch it in the moment? You will not always spot the trick, so do not watch for the trick. Watch for two alarms inside yourself. The first is a feeling, a pressure that arrives too fast and too strong. A sudden debt, a rush of warmth for a stranger, a clock you did not set beginning to tick. When a feeling like that spikes around someone who wants your yes, the feeling itself is the alarm. And the second alarm is a question, one you can ask about anything. Strip the string away and look at what is left. If there were no gift, no crowd, no coat, no closing door, and no warmness, would I still want this? On its own? On its plain merits alone? Sometimes, yes. And then it was a good choice. But sometimes the offer, with the strings cut away, is suddenly nothing you wanted at all. And there is one move that powers both alarms. You cannot outthink the reflex. It is faster than your reasons, but you can outlast it. The pull always wants one thing. Now. Decide now. Sign now, before the feeling fades. So make it a law. The bigger the rush to decide, the longer you wait. A pause is the one thing no string can survive. Almost every trap on earth needs you to move while the spell still holds. You came here believing your choices were your own, reasoned, weighed, free. Leave knowing that many of them were pulled, gently, by hands you never saw. But do not fall into the other trap and trust no one at all. That is not freedom either. It is just a smaller cage. Because the point was never to have no strings. Everyone has them. The point is to feel them. A puppet that cannot feel its strings dances to every hand that finds them. But a puppet that feels the tug can choose to move with a pull it trusts and to go perfectly still against one it does not. That flicker of feeling the string before you move is almost the whole of your freedom. See what people hide, even from themselves.